Hey guys, welcome to video 2 of the Ultimate Nutrition and Training Setup. We're still on the topic of nutrition, and this time I'm going to break down how you work out your calorie goal, how you then split your macronutrients as appropriate, and then set up your meal timing as well in a way that suits you and your current goals. So, hope you've got a pen and paper at the ready, but a lot of these things you're going to have to do some work yourself because we're all individual, and I'm going to give you the setup. You're going to have to apply this to your own situation. So in terms of working out calories, there are a couple of ways that we can do it, and I'm going to talk you through my two favorite ways. First, my favorite way, which requires a bit more work, and then two, the more simpler method, which you'll have to have a bit of leeway with. So I'll go through both of them first of all. So the first method to working out your total daily calories, right, is you need to work out your BMR, your base metabolic rate. Now, my preferred equation for this is the Harris-Benedict equation, and I'm not going to talk you through it. You can find this out online. Google the Harris-Benedict equation. Slightly different for men than it is for women, and that is to take into the account the fact that men burn slightly more energy than women on a whole. After you've found that, you're going to multiply your BMR by a physical activity level. Now, this can be somewhere between 1.1 to 1.3, and you need to think about how much you move throughout the day. So 1.1 is going to be someone who's very sedentary, driving to and from work, not really doing many steps, so thinking of sort of 6,000 to 8,000 steps a day. 1.2, you're a bit more active, 10,000, 12,000 steps per day, someone who moves about a little bit more. 1.3 to 1.4 potentially if you're very active on your feet all day. Think personal trainer, nurse, building construction worker, that kind of thing. Those are your activity levels. So you multiply your BMR by your PAL, and then you've got exercise. Okay, so exercise is on top of everything else. Now, a lot of the time I tell people to exercise purely for health reasons, not for calorie burn, because depending on the exercise, you might not burn that many calories, but of course you're going to need to take it into account in terms of your daily and maybe weekly calorie expenditure. The best way to work this out is to use METS scores. This is metabolic equivalent table of exercise. You can Google this, it's an open access paper, and you can download a huge graph of exercise METS for every type of exercise there is. Cycling, running, conditioning workouts, all at different paces, all at different intensities, and then you can multiply the METS by your body weight by the amount of hours you're doing an exercise for. So let's say you're doing functional fitness, it's a METS of 6, I'm just pulling this out of the air. You'll times 6 by your body weight times the amount of hours you do, and that's going to give you the amount of exercise calories burned. That is one way to do it. That is my preferred way. What I do when I work with clients is that I'll work out their METS for different exercises. So if they're doing weight training, running, cycling, functional fitness, circuits, whatever, I'll work that out in terms of time per week with all the appropriate calories. I'll add that to their daily energy expenditure without exercise, which is BMR and PAL, and then I'll divide it across the week for an average daily amount. But that's the best way personally. For a much simpler way, if you are a woman, you can multiply your body weight by 22, and that's going to give you an approximate BMR. If you're a guy, 24 times body weight. That's going to give you an approximate BMR. From there, you can skip the PAL and the exercise and put those things together to an arbitrary activity multiplier. If you're sedentary with little exercise, times it by 1.2. If you're moderately active, times it by 1.55. If you're very active, by 1.7. And if you're very, very active, multiply it by 2. So those are combining your activity in your day-to-day activities as well as all of your training. And again, that's going to give you a rough estimate. It's up to you to then adjust things based on how your body weight works. And we're going to talk about measuring progress in the next video. So that's where you set things up. After that, we're going to be splitting our macronutrients. Protein is the one that we set first. Protein should be set somewhere between 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo. That is where the bulk of the body of evidence tell us that protein should be sat when we're training very regularly, which I'm assuming you are doing because you're watching this video series. So somewhere between 1.6 to 2.2 grams. It doesn't matter really where within that. It's up to you to choose a personal preference based on the amount of calories you've got available to you. Fats are essential for human health, okay? They're essential for hormonal health, so we should set those next. Somewhere between 0.5 to 1 gram per kilo is a good place to be, because 0.5 grams is the minimum based on the body of research that we should have, and 1 gram per kilo, not necessarily the maximum, but in terms of allowing plenty of calories for carbohydrates, that's a good place to put it. Carbohydrates then come in the remainder, and the reason why they come in the remainder is because they're not essential like protein and fats are, and they're going to be very dependent depending on the amount of exercise you do, considering the last video that I did. So carbohydrates fit the remainder of your calories, protein and fats come first. With regards to working out how many calories each of those are, protein is 4 calories per gram, fats are 9 calories per gram, and carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So what you would do is you would say you'll take your protein, times it by 4, that's how many calories. Fats, times them by 9, that's so many calories. Add those two together, your remaining calories come from carbs, divide that number by 4, that's the amount of grams of carbs you are eating per day, okay? After that, you're thinking about your meal timing. How many meals do you want to eat per day? Do you want to eat 3 per day? Do you want to eat 4 per day? 5 per day? The world is literally your oyster when it comes to meal timing. If you're training twice a day, you might want to have more meals. If you're training once a day, fewer meals. If you're not training, maybe even fewer meals again on a rest day. The only thing you need to worry about, as I spoke about in the last video, is your timing around workouts. So making sure that you have some food 1 to 3 hours both pre and post workout. After that, the world is literally your oyster in terms of food timing, and you can do really what you'd like with it. After that, you just need to worry about the quality of your food being 80% nutrient dense, 20% junk, and having that balance throughout the week as you see fit. Supplements, I gave you the overview last week. We don't really need to worry about them here. So work out your total calories first of all, either by going BMR times PAL, adding exercise, or by using that really simple method of finding out your BMR and then timesing by an arbitrary activity number. You will adjust this based on your results, set your macronutrients as follows, follow those steps back through to get them all set up, and then in the next episode we're going to talk about how to adjust based on your results so that you know that you're going in the right way.